Peter Thomas Fornital with a special presentation for our friends at Monmouth Park. Racing at the Jersey Shore resumes this weekend. They start off running Saturdays and Sundays. They're going to add Friday before too long. We're going to be covering it every week over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com, and we're covering this kickoff show right here on YouTube as well. And to do this show with me, I bring in a man who'll be there live on Saturday, still debating whether or not I'm going to take the boat down and join him. He is Jonathan Kinchin. What's up, JK?
What's going on? Yeah, I was going to take the boat, but to get from the west side to the east side, and then by the time you get down there, it takes forever. I was going to take the train, but oddly, the train that actually drops off at Monmouth, it's only like about an hour and 30 minutes from Penn Station, doesn't run on Saturday, which is weird to me.
Very weird.
Basically, I'm just going to drive because it's going to be the fastest way.
Can I get a ride, or are you already full?
No, you meet me up here, you can roll for sure.
Yeah, I would be willing to. That could actually be fun. Production meeting in the middle of the show. Transportation meeting in the middle of the show. This is the kind of thing we're known for over at the In the Money Media Network. Let's dive in and talk about some of these races, JK. We're going to start talking about race number 6 on this card. We've got a $12,000 claimer going a mile and a 16th on the turf. Fingers crossed that we are going to be on the turf for this opening race. One caught my fancy ahead of the others in here, and I'll kick it off with number 4, Gliding a Fleet. Just thought this horse had some back class on turf, in decent form. Thought was stuck against the flow in the most recent race and should get a good run through from just off the pace in a race where it looks like there is plenty of speed signed on. Gliding a Fleet, the forerunner, the one that I'm the most interested in here. How do you see this 6th race at Monmouth on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to use 2 to get started here. I'm going to use the 4, Gliding a Fleet, that you mentioned. The last 2 runs were on synthetic. The last 3 runs, the good runs, were on synthetic. But you do look back. This horse has run on the turf 6 times, 2 wins. So you know the turf's not going to be a problem. So I definitely want to have Gliding a Fleet. I also want to have the 1, Restored Order. I'm going to kind of forgive that last race. Didn't run well, was bet. Didn't run well that day. Kelly Breen, can make some noise on the Jersey Shore. I'm going to go back to those races that are 4 races back. If this horse can find that run 4 races back, should be able to win this one for fun. I like tactical horses that draw inside. They can get those kind of nice, comfortable inside pocket trips, or they can just go ahead and go to the front. I'll use the 1 and the 4 to get started.
Next up, we have the Long Branch Stakes, 3-year-old stakes action, a traditional prep for the Haskell. We're going a mile and 70 yards on the dirt. JK, we'll keep this one with you. Who wins the Long Branch Stakes?
Yeah, I mean, Heartened looks like a horse that's improving on the rail on the inside. You get Todd Pletcher, you get Paco. And a horse that doesn't have a lot of tactical speed from the inside, which I think is what makes me the most nervous about taking him at likely what would be a short price. I want to have Heartened. I also want to have the 5, Crazy Mason, who I thought ran well. Had a pretty tricky trip last time, was wide all the way around there, trying to close into a slow pace. So I'm going to forgive that. And then as a B horse, I'll use the 7, Lonesome Boy, who I thought ran okay last time and has run okay the last couple of starts. The biggest issue is just like, anytime I see a horse that's 80 to 1, it's like no one could get creative and figure out a way for Lonesome Boy to win the Wood Memorial. But I do think that getting back in a lower level stake is going to help Lonesome Boy quite a bit. I'll use that horse as a B. So I'll go 1, 5 as A's. I'll use the 7 as B's. And you could have made a hunch play with the 6, Pete, but I guess you decided you're gonna.
I actually like that horse. That's a perfect segue to me. Definitely a hunch streak with C Streak. That's the name of the boat that takes you down there. Blown away by Knight's Bridge off that brief break. But now I thought, having worked 4 times since, with a couple of those works looking nice, I think this horse is going to get a great trip in the second flight and goes with a chance in this spot. You mentioned Lonesome Boy. I do have a fear scenario that Lonesome Boy just proves the best speed on this dropping class. I wouldn't mind covering him either. 6-7 for me, 1-5 with 7 as a backup for JK as we pivot to our discussion of the hinge of this pick 5. It's a 3-year-old filly allowance race on the grass, going a mile and a 16th on the turf, a race that I thought was notable because it doesn't have a whole lot in the way of pace, and that led me to wanting to take a shot with the number 4, High Stick, who I thought was an interesting wire threat for Shug McGahee. Last time out, won the pace battle and lost the war. That was a stronger group in a race where she could have a possible pace edge. I think High Stick is the hunch play for the NHL playoffs. How do you see this 8th race?
Yeah, I'm a Rangers fan. Clearly, I hung out the other night and watched the Rangers go to overtime, and I know that most people probably don't want to believe that I know a little bit about hockey, but I do know a little bit about hockey. You should be ashamed of yourself for thinking that I don't. You know what I'm saying. Look, I think the 4 high stick is very interesting. I'm going to spread here. The 5 Gray Vixen I'll use as well, who I thought has been running pretty well. Just hasn't been able to get there. I'll use the 7 and the 8 for Chad Brown. Look, when Chad shows up anywhere, even in New York, especially when he leaves New York, he always gets a little bit over bet. But I also don't believe that that's a true statement, because is he really over bet? Because he wins a lot of races. I just don't necessarily love or trust these two, but they could jump up and improve, and I got to have them if I'm spreading in here. The 9 Lady Madonna, is another one that I'll use in here. Don't have a strong opinion. I'm going to try to catch something here. Some of the cuter opinions live elsewhere in the sequence.
Lay Madonna would make it a very different type of show, JK. Are we dividing into A's and B's, or are we just playing those 5 pretty equally?
Yeah, I'm going to try to use them equally, like we talked about on the Naira Pick 6 show that we did. When you have favorites that you need to use but don't love, I don't like giving them that A push and having the other horses kind of be B's. The equity to me is that I don't love these 2 horses, so why not make them more equal to the higher priced horses in a sequence? Now, if you love an A horse, you're supposed to definitely, or I love a horse, you're supposed to definitely use that horse as an A and then kind of have some backups on the B's. But I've got no problem using those horses equally.
We move on to the next race where we see some Jersey-breds competing in race number 9. So for me, the angle with these sort of state-bred programs, when they come back and most of the field hasn't run since the last state-bred race was run, I look for horses with recency first. I'm not always going to pick one with recency. Obviously, if it's a barn that specializes in getting horses ready off the layoff, I'm not saying I won't bet those, but the 2 that came to mind here for me were both recency plays, thinking they might have a fitness edge. The number 5, Bustin' Down Doors, has a recent race and looks like she should be the best speed. That might be enough against this group with so many layoff questions. But the 7, Summer's Coming, might just be better on synth and turf. But I will try here with the thought that Tampa race might have really just been a prep for this. 6 on the dirt should suit her. 2nd off the layoff now. Race could be run in a favorable manner for her as well, as I think she's going to have no choice to close. They're going to run away from her early. She could keep plugging along late, dropping class, more than a hunch play. We talked about hunch play with C-Streak. Summer's Coming, another good opportunity for a hunch play. I'm going to go 5 and 7. Before we bring you in, JK, just do want to put out a call. If you're watching on YouTube especially, give us your thoughts on this Monmouth card. Let us know what your play of the day is. And or if you're listening to this on the audio version, go over to YouTube and get in the comments there. It's just, you get a lot livelier conversations we found over on YouTube than you get comments-wise on social media or on the blog post for the show. So go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you think of this card. JK, what do you think of this Jersey-bred affair?
Yeah, while you're doing all that, I should have counted these horses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to use the 5 Busting Down Doors as well. A horse that has a lot of early speed, has a nice final figure, so there's really not a whole lot to add. This is a horse that I basically have to have in any situation. I'm going to use the 1 Bella Fast. Another horse that drew the rail, has a little bit of early speed, but there's one thing I really like about Bella Fast is the last time she earned a number that was very competitive with all these, it's when she was a 2-year-old. You can expect maybe a 10 to 12 point buyer speed figure improve when a horse goes from 2 to 3. She comes in off of a little bit of a break. The other thing I like is when a horse that has tactical speed that may or may not show it draws the rail, because then I know what's going to happen. She's going to send away from there. I think she'll get overtaken by the 5, and then she could end up in that perfect stocking pocket position. I'm going to try to get away with just using the 1 and the 5 here.
Okay, 1 and 5 for JK, and I'm actually, wait a second. Yeah, 1 and 5 for you, 5 and 7 for me. The lack of numbers is off throwing. I'm sure no one has any sympathy for us given what we get to do for a living, but it makes you think when you're on air in a way that leads to some strange little preambles like the one that I'm in the midst of as we pivot to the last race of the day, where we see nickel claimers, real bread and butter stuff, 1.70 miles here. We're going to figure out how we get paid in all of these late pick bets. JK, who will be on your tickets in this nightcap?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 1 Wandering West horse. Just from a figure standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. The 2 King of Hollywood. It's a claim back for Greg Sacco. So I love a claim back. I think that when you enter a horse, you lose the horse, and then you go back and get the horse. I think it says a lot about what trainers might think about horses. And I do think especially this horse ran well last time too. So I like the fact that this horse is getting claimed back. And then I'm going to use the far outside horse, the 8 Coco Shell, as a B horse. I hate the last race. And frankly, it's one that makes me not trust the horse much, but the race 2 back makes the horse very competitive. So I just have to, in case this horse runs back to that, I got to make sure I'm protected as a B horse. I'll use Coco Shell as a B.
1, 2, and 8 for JK. I'll pause on a bit of jargon, good jargon that JK threw in there, because it was the angle that I used too in determining my pick here with this number 2 King of Hollywood. In the claiming game, which is, the bread and butter of racing, where every horse is for sale in every race, it really does say a lot when a trainer loses, or sometimes a trainer loses a horse and they have a low-key party. They were happy to move that one on because they didn't think the horse was that good anyway. When it's the opposite and they say, wait a second, I know what this horse is capable of. I know the condition book coming up at my local track, in this case, Monmouth Park. I want this one back because I think we can win some races this meet. And then they reach back in and go get that horse. It can mean something for sure. And so Sacco, a guy who wins plenty of races down around there, taking this one back makes a lot of sense. I also thought this horse has decent local form and might even be able to be loose on the lead. The other one I'll mention is a kind of horse I don't like to bet, I'll be honest with you. But in the modern game, sometimes these seeming give-ups where the horse is just dropping so far in class, with certain trainers especially, they need to be respected. So Empire Ride, the 4, a very tricky read as what I would call a giveaway for Wayne Potts. Not a horse that can be trusted, but a horse that fits on figures and form, and one that will be on my tickets. JK, appreciate you, buddy. If you're looking for more from us, go wherever you get your podcasts, In the Money Players podcast. Go over to YouTube. Give us a quick closing thought as we end this little segment.
Yeah, just hit that train on Saturday morning, Pete. 59th, the Columbus Street station's right there. You pop on over. We'll hop in the car. We'll go down. It'll be fun. We can do production meetings all the way down there.
We'll be kicking it old school, my friend. Great stuff, JK. I will see you on the Upper West Side as we then head to the Jersey Shore.